Y'all all be happy to know that I got Maddie home last night and in the bed. It was about 3 hours after her bedtime, but she got more sleep last night than I did. Thank y'all for coming today. I am very encouraged by the results from yesterday's election. Honestly, yesterday was a great day for Republicans, and quite frankly, it was not a very good day for the Democrats. For the first time since the mid-1800s, Republicans had over almost 100,000 more people vote in Republican primaries across Mississippi yesterday than voted in Democrat primaries yesterday. It's the first time since the mid-1800s that more Republican primary votes were cast than Democrats were cast. That bodes very, very well for the Conservative Party when we get into November, and it certainly reinforced the fact that Mississippi is on the right track, is headed in the right direction. I want to take just a minute and congratulate Representative Robert Foster. I did speak to him earlier today and congratulated him on the race that he ran. Robert worked his tail off, and Robert had some good ideas in the campaign, particularly on his tax policy proposals and other things. Robert and I worked together on various pieces of legislation over the last 4 years, and I just will tell you that he ran a fantastic campaign, and he earned every single vote that he received. I will tell you that while my name is on the ballot, this race is not about me. This is about the conservative cause in our state. This is about conservatives versus liberals. And while I respect Justice Waller, he is a good man, but he is not a conservative. He says that we need a progressive approach, much like what the Democrats say. We've got a real clear choice in this race. Are you for higher taxes? Are you for Obamacare expansion? Do you want someone that will stand up and fight the liberals or fold to what they want to do? Honestly, if you want higher taxes or you want more Obamacare in Mississippi, there are two choices now for you for governor. You can choose Jim Hood, or you can choose Bill Waller. But if you want a conservative that will stand up and fight for Mississippi values, then the only choice that you have left in the governor's race is Tate Reeves. So I want to thank all of y'all for coming here today. I want you to know what you see in this campaign from yesterday, and I guess it's obviously illustrated in this map here to my left, is we ran a very strong grassroots campaign. Our volunteers knocked on over 116,000 doors across Mississippi. We called tens of thousands of people on the telephone. And because of that, we received about 175,000 votes, and we literally won somewhere between 73, 74, 75 counties across Mississippi. That is the strength of having a strong organization, and that is the strength of having really, quite frankly, literally hundreds, if not thousands of people who believe in the conservative cause, that worked their tail off, and I can't thank them enough. And so I look forward to spending the next couple of weeks talking about the positives that we can bring to Mississippi, talking about the differences between our views and those views of the other candidates running for governor. And with that, I'll open the floor to any easy questions you have. I'm sure, Scott, you want to ask some easy ones, right?
You always have the softball. You won the majority of the counties. Your reaction to Madison, Rankin, and Hinds counties and what was not read?
Yeah, well, there's an awful lot of insiders here in the Metro Jackson area, and we always knew that was going to be a challenge because obviously I am from here. Justice Waller is from here. We're proud of the fact that we won the Jackson media market, just like we won every media market throughout the state. But it was closer here, which is exactly what we expected it to be, because Justice Waller has lived in this area, in this community, for years and years and years. And he's been involved in politics, literally dating back 50 years ago, when his father was elected governor as a Democrat in Mississippi. And so I'm not at all surprised that the race was very close here in the central Mississippi area. But I'll also tell you, is when you look at places like the Biloxi DMA, you look at the northeast Mississippi area, in many of those boxes we were in the mid-60s, and their campaign was in the high teens or low 20s. We really had a very strong organization statewide, and so I wasn't surprised by that at all.
In terms of strategy, you've said from the beginning that the political enemy is not one another, but the party of Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, and Jim Hood.
Right.
Now that it's a runoff, and you are trying to distinctly distinguish yourself from Bill Waller, should voters expect to hear you more plainly talk about differences between the two of you, not just you and Jim Hood?
Well, I will tell you that, and thank you for the question. It's a good question. And you know, everybody wants to talk about strategy this and strategy that. But here's what I believe. I believe that I am applying for the job to lead our party into the November elections. I believe that I am applying for the job to lead the conservative cause going into the November elections. I believe that I am applying to be hired by the voters in the Republican primary to take the fight to Jim Hood. And so I will tell you that I believe strongly that we need a nominee that is a conservative. I believe that we need a nominee that is a fighter, someone that will stand up and take the fight to the liberals, like the Attorney General. But I also believe that while I'm applying for the job, nobody's entitled to it. Nobody's entitled to anything in a political campaign. We have to earn it. And that's what I have worked very hard to do over the last 7 months since Ely and I and the girls went and qualified at the Mississippi Republican Party headquarters. We have worked very, very hard. And I told Robert earlier, he worked hard. Robert really, really worked hard in this campaign. He was everywhere. If there was more than 2 or 3 people gathered, he tried to be there. But I'll also tell you that I think we worked just as hard, and I think the results statewide certainly prove that out.
Have you asked Robert Foster for your endorsement?
We had a very good conversation earlier today, and I will tell you that I have worked over the last 7 months to earn the support, the vote, and the endorsement of every single Mississippian, and I have done the same thing with everyone that I've talked to today, including that conversation.
Waller ran a campaign for Medicaid reform, for increasing gas tax, similar to the campaign that Robert Foster ran. Do you risk alienating that block of voters? He's got over 100,000 votes if you make it to the general election, and those ideas come up, and those voters clearly voted that way.
Well, I think that Bill is definitely running a campaign that is similar, if not identical, to the campaign that Jim Hood is running. And I think that both of those candidates are for Obamacare expansion. Both Jim and Bill Waller are for raising taxes on hard-working Mississippi families. And so I think there's a lot of distinctions between the campaign that we will run and the way in which we will govern as a conservative when compared to both of those 2 other candidates.
Will you accept a debate invitation?
We hope to be able to debate. Yeah, we hope to be able to debate. Obviously, we had one during the primary season just a couple of weeks ago. The Democrats certainly didn't, but we were fortunate to have that debate, and I'm hopeful that we'll be able to have one over the next 3 weeks.
Will you debate on Channel 12? But looking forward,
Nothing specific or anything, right? But just
but within the next 3 weeks, what do you have to do to encourage those who sat out this race, encourage those Robert Foster voters to jump onto your campaign?
Well, what you're going to see us do is we're going to continue to focus our efforts on ensuring that Mississippi's conservative party has a conservative person running as the nominee of the Republican Party. It's the reason that we're going to continue to focus on issues. We're going to talk about the fact, and by the way, this is no secret. I'm not just the only person that's saying this now, and I'm not the only one that's going to say it over the next 3 weeks. But there is one candidate running for governor now that is opposed to Obamacare expansion. Both Jim Hood and Bill Waller are for Obamacare expansion in Mississippi. There's one candidate running for governor that is opposed to raising taxes on hardworking Mississippi families, and that is me. Both Jim Hood and Bill Waller are certainly perfectly fine with raising taxes on hardworking Mississippi families. And so I think that there's going to be a lot of discussion about issues over the next 3 weeks, and there's going to be a lot of discussion about is Mississippi headed in the right direction with our economic growth, with revenues having grown about 5% year over year. With the first month of this fiscal year in July, the revenue is actually up about 8% compared to what the original estimates were. Mississippi's in the best financial shape we've ever been in. We're in the best fiscal shape we've ever been in. Unemployment's at an all-time low. Number of people working is at an all-time high. And so there'll be a lot of discussion about issues, but certainly those will be a couple of them.
Are you expecting anyone to come into the state and endorse you, say the President of the United States?
Again, nothing specific, right? Well, I was very pleased to get the endorsement on Monday afternoon of one of Mississippi's favorite sons, Brett Favre. He was, I saw just the other day that some of the Hollywood elites, some of the actors and whatnot, were giving money to Attorney General Jim Hood and getting their endorsements. But I think I'll stick with folks like Brett Favre, who lives here and works here. And so who knows who all will come into Mississippi over the next 2 or 3 weeks, or quite frankly, who's going to come into Mississippi on our behalf over the next 3 months as we continue to fight to beat Jim Hood. Those announcements will be made at an appropriate time, but we have been very, very fortunate in garnering the support and the endorsement of virtually every conservative leader in Mississippi and many, many conservative leaders all across the country.
Why do you think Jim Hood hasn't released his report yet on the frontage road, and do you otherwise want to weigh in on that situation?
I have no idea.
Your strategy this whole campaign has been largely to focus on Jim Hood. You, I think, went out of your way early in the campaign, really until the last couple of weeks, to start talking specifically about your opponents. Today, I think, is as pointed as you've been talking about Bill Waller. Of course, naturally, you're in the runoff with him, but having missed the 50% threshold by just 1 percentage point, looking back, do you wish you had focused a little bit more on Waller a little earlier than you did?
I choose not to look back. I look forward. The only thing that matters in this election is the next 3 weeks. But as I told Courtney Ann earlier, I believe that we are both applying to be the leader of the Republican Party and the conservative Party going into the November general elections. And so this is it's a bit of an interview, and I think that we need a conservative leader that can take the fight to Attorney General Jim Hood in November. The reality is, winning last night or winning 3 weeks from last night on August the 27th just isn't good enough. We've got to win in November, and that is critically important, and that's what we're focused on.
Did you underestimate Bill Waller?
Look, I thought that both candidates that ran for office this year ran good campaigns. They ran tough campaigns. But look, you've been publicly saying that he was going to get in the low 40s, and that we were going to be in the low 40s. We outperformed expectations last night. We got over 49% of the vote. 175,000 people went to the polls to vote for us yesterday. Representative Foster ran a very good campaign, and he was fortunate to get up in the high teens, and I congratulate him for that. But when you look at what we were able to do, and the fact that we won somewhere in the neighborhood of 74 to 75 counties all across Mississippi, I think we ran a really strong campaign. And literally up until probably even after I spoke last night, had a realistic chance of getting there. I just came up a few votes short. But it wasn't it was only because, it wasn't because we didn't have literally hundreds of people knocking doors. We hit 116,000 doors during the campaign. I mean, you've all seen where I have been and where I have stopped over the last 6 months. I haven't underestimated anybody or anything in this campaign. I know that we have to earn it, and we're trying to earn the vote and the support of every single Mississippian.
Tate, I want to give Randy a chance to ask a question if he wants to. Sorry, I know you.
I was just going to ask, you know, you focus almost exclusively so far on your anticipated battle against Jim
Right.
Hood. For the next 3 weeks, do you